I'm back to talking about yet another fairy tale character, having explored the stories of Natsu, Lucy, and Zeref each in different ways over the last few months. But you know who we haven't spoken about yet? Of course you do. It's the title. Today, I'm covering my personal favorite character from this iconic anime, Erza Scarlet. I'm not alone by any means in considering Erza the best fairy tale character, since she's a huge fan favorite and has been pretty much since she first showed up. But what is it that makes her so appealing? That's what we're going to find out today. A quick spoiler warning, since I am going to be talking about some stuff that happens right towards the end of the show. And just so you know, I won't be considering any manga-only content. Okay, let's get into it. The first time we majorly focus on Erza is the Tower of Heaven arc, which happens pretty early on in the story. It hit us pretty hard with part of her tragic backstory, showing Erza as a child slave being forced to work on the tower. The whole thing is dark and heavy, even for the fairy tale universe. So we quickly start to feel sorry for Erza in spite of the fact that she has a great life now in the guild. On top of that, she led a rebellion against the cult that was building the tower, and during that rebellion, the death of her friend Rob triggered the birth of her magic. This in particular gave a lot of fans a huge reason to root for Erza, because it showed how strong she was even at the very start of her life as a mage. Her magic came from how deeply she cared about her friend and how angry the injustice of the situation made her. That's the type of character that an audience can get emotionally invested in. Now, Fairy Tail is full of people who would literally die to save their friends. But up to this point, Erza had never really shown much emotion vulnerability, so it's all the more impactful coming from her. We get even more tragedy into the story when we learn about her mother Irene and how she abandoned Erza as a baby, after carrying her for 400 years. The scenes between the two of them towards the end of the show are some of the most powerful, in terms of showing Erza's strength and growth as a character. When she finds out Irene is her mother, she replies that Makarov is her only parent, showing how much she values her guild. And she fights Irene in her Hakama outfit, which has no special powers, showing how much she believes in her own strength. This is another emotionally vulnerable moment, and it's awesome to see her not hiding behind her armor. Throughout the show, especially at the beginning, Erza wearing her armor all the time is used as a metaphor for the wall she's built up around herself, stopping her from getting too close and comfortable with anyone. Her character growth overall is maybe not as obvious or earth-shattering as others, but the way she manages to lose those walls and become warmer and more vulnerable is just as touching as any villain redemption. Because she's one of the strongest fighters from the beginning, I think her development, being almost entirely about opening her heart, is very fitting. We're already impressed by her, and most people who like her think she's cool from the start, so we only get more attached to her the more she opens up. She has depth and realism. Having a traumatic childhood made her close off, but with the time and love from her friends, she's able to trust others more and let her guard down. Her depth as a character really shows throughout the series. Despite her stoic and badass demeanor, she likes fashion and feminine clothing, has a huge sweet tooth, and can't hold her alcohol. These are such endearing qualities that make her feel three-dimensional, like she's much more than just a terrifying warrior. I feel like female characters in anime, especially around the time Fairy Tail was airing, have often been one or the other, feminine and sweet, or straight-faced rule followers, even if both can be strong fighters. So Erza having both those sides to her makes her feel special, although it's maybe more common now for female characters to be more well-rounded. She is a strong fighter though, and that in itself is part of her appeal. Supposedly, she was intended to be a female character that Natsu is afraid of, and I think Hiro Mishima pulled this off very well. We see her scare Natsu and the other members of the guild with just her facial expression many times in the show, and her power as a warrior backs her up, making it feel realistic for them to be afraid of her. She finds it important to follow the rules and upholds a good reputation for the guild, which again shows how much she cares about Fairy Tail. Despite being such a strict and scary person, Erza also acts like a big sister, especially towards Natsu and Grey. They grew up together at the guild, so her acting like a protective big sister makes sense, and it's sweet to see her develop the same kind of relationship with Lucy over time. Erza's other most interesting relationship is with Jalal. They were childhood friends in the Tower of Heaven until he got corrupted by the cult and sent her away, threatening to kill the rest of the slaves if she ever came back. After the conclusion of the arc, he lost his memories, and felt such immense guilt over his actions that he wanted to die. but Erza showed her warm and caring side by convincing him to live to atone for his sins. They keep a positive relationship through the rest of the series, and he eventually returns to his original persona from when they were children. Although Jalal has to keep his distance as the leader of an illegal guild and a fugitive, he continues to be protective and supportive towards Erza, and eventually it becomes clear that the two have feelings for each other. Because their story is somewhat of an emotional roller coaster, we want to see them together again, whether as friends or a couple. After everything she's been through, we just want Erza to be happy. So whenever Jalal shows up in the story, we're glued to the screen, waiting to see what's going to become of their relationship. Since Erza doesn't really have any other romantic interests, it's almost impossible not to be invested. Whether it's Jalal pushing her away because he doesn't think he deserves her, or Erza worrying about him being on the run, it all boils down to a cute story of childhood sweethearts. And we love Erza even more because of it. She seems like a real person with a crush and real insecurities about that relationship that we can all relate to one way or another. Erza's magic is another part of her character that makes her such a popular choice. It's unique among the rest of the guild members, and many people find it interesting to see how her powers play into the story. She can keep weapons and armor in a pocket of space, calling on them whenever she needs something in particular. So for the majority of the show, we don't know what kind of fighting style she's going to pull off next. Besides Natsu, Erza is the one person that I always look forward to seeing what she was going to pull out of her sleeve in order to step up and save the day. Continuing on the theme of her armor, Erza's magic allows her to have a diverse and interesting wardrobe, while a lot of her outfits are very revealing, playing into the type of fan service that Fairy Tail is kind of notorious for. But I will say, some of the costumes are beautiful. Her Heaven's Will armor, for example, with its enormous skirt and wings made out of literal swords, does show a lot of skin, but at the same time, it gives her an intimidating and stunning appearance that is worthy of the name Titania, Queen of the Fairies. Her adamantine armor looks almost like a Gundam, so I think that's worth a shout out too. That's not to say I think the fan service is a bad thing, and in fact, in Erza's case, it adds to the comedy that makes her character so fun. Like this scene at the party following the Grand Magic Games, where she pulls the 3 Xseed characters out of her cleavage. Or pick any hot spring scene where she's completely shameless about being naked. This type of humor works well with Erza because she's so stoic and looks so serious. It contrasts with our expectations for that type of character. There are plenty of other times in the show that her being so serious makes for good comic relief. The episode where she gets a catgirl outfit and turns into a superhero called Fairy Woman is one that immediately comes to mind. It's so funny because it very much feels like a filler episode, so it's lighthearted, but Erza treats the whole thing with the same deadpan intensity that she would treat fighting a major villain. Her serious love for good food is the same type of comedy too, with her intensity contrasting how trivial it seems for her to be able to eat cake. Overall, she's just a good person with a strong sense of justice brought about by a horrible childhood. She cares about her guild more than anything, because they're like a family to her. And we as an audience get to learn more about Erza and her cuter side along with her friends as she opens up to them. So we can only get more attached to her as time goes on. That's about all I wanted to say about this fantastic character. I enjoyed her story so much over the years, and I'm glad so many people feel the same way. What do you think though? Let me know in the comments whether you think Erza is as cool as I do, and what you like about her the most. Thanks so much for watching, and stick around for more awesome anime content coming soon.